to the ReThink Podcast.
Jeff, how you doing over there?
Doing well.
You know, that new tanning lotion you've been using, that really
Taking the age off.
taking the age off.
Yeah, I got my hair cut,
That's good.
aged a little downward, and had quite the spa treatment this weekend.
Yeah.
Did you go with Jordan?
Yes, actually, it's great. Father-in-law and son-in-law bonding time.
Get your nails done.
He did the manicure and pedicure. I just watched.
I believe that about him.
Wait, Jeff or
You just,
No, Jordan.
you just watched.
Jordan.
Oh, I know. I definitely believe that about Jordan.
So I got a. Speaking of Jordan, Jordan came to my house unannounced last week. He called himself Uncle Jordan.
Self-given, huh?
Self-given. I've never called him that.
That'd be weird for you to call it that.
It would be, but he showed up and won the hearts of my children because he brought them some snacks and some swag. So we now have pencils
From the radio station.
and stickers from the radio station.
Was the snacks also from the radio station for when people come
They
in?
were mints from the.
Yeah, I think they came from the snack room there at the radio station. But
Nice.
Uncle Jordan showed up, won the hearts of the children.
This is
It's like Santa Claus.
This is a bite out of this cosmic brownie from Chris Tomlin. Check that out.
So anyway, thanks Jordan for stopping by and not seeing me, but my kids. So I wasn't even home.
Perfect.
So anyway, that was great.
I didn't know it was the real
Price is
Jordan.
not there, still talking.
I was told he only had an hour given to him.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
what my kids said.
An
They said
hour.
Jordan said he only had 1 hour to stay before he had to leave.
Did he stay that whole hour?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he did. What are we talking about today?
The sermon you preached.
Hmm.
And Caleb
you too.
preached.
Wrapping up Romans after 11 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about
What'd you
today.
talk about?
I talked about 1 Corinthians. No, I didn't.
Chapter 1.
Yeah. I talked about the gospel.
Shocker.
I talked about staying focused on the gospel.
You
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Did you not hear the main 3 points at the end? Staying focused on the gospel keeps us unified.
No, he checked out after.
Staying
minute
focused on the
32.
gospel gives us hope. Staying focused on the gospel gives us strength to endure to the end.
I stayed focused
Wow.
till like 30 minutes, and after that I was thinking, wow, he's going a long time.
Well, because we
Good.
were only allowed to preach 23 minutes.
Yeah. At like 37, I was like-
I was told 25.
Okay, well, you're still 12 minutes over. Congratulations.
No, it was 14 minutes over. 37.
I know, but if he's going
Oh,
with,
25.
I was at
Okay.
25.
Okay.
Hey, when the Spirit moves in you,
Hmm.
what can you do?
What could you do?
It's really funny to know that joke.
he's confusing the spirit with,
Juan Diego?
Maria's Taco House.
I thought it was really fitting going back to let's get serious now.
He's like,
I'm trying to. Wrapping up
Hold on,
Romans.
we should just start over.
nah. Let's just keep
No?
going.
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
I was actually okay.
Go ahead.
So you're wrapping up Romans, and I think chapter 16 is one of those chapters that can easily. I've personally have easily overlooked Romans, chapter 16, because everything up in there, it's like just compact with stuff, and then you get to this list of names. The first part, there's 27 people listed on the first 16 verses.
30 something.
Then when you add 21 through
Oh,
23,
yeah.
but that first list of we're greeting you, the church in Rome. But it shows me a couple things. One, like Paul, he's writing to real people, real individuals, real churches, ordinary people. Like they have lives and stories just like you and I do. And so it's not just this blanket letter going out, but real people in real situations. And then two, especially when you get into the names listed, starting like with Timothy in verses 21 through 23, those are the people that he's daily doing ministry with. And so it shows me like, because every time, like, I don't know what you guys think when you think of Paul, but a lot of times when we think of Paul, like it's this almost a superhuman Christian going out doing it all on his own. And you think about the missionary journeys through Acts, and you think like he's accomplishing all these things, but yet he's never doing it by himself.
Mhm.
And he's always doing it with others, always for the glory of God. He's not self-seeking in that. And this chapter just shows me all those people that he's been investing into and others that have encouraged him along the way. And so it just shows me like an awesome picture of what the church looks like, because it takes a multitude of people working together in unity. And I mean, 14 and 15, we've been talking about unity for the last couple of weeks, but he just combined all that. And then he's giving us some real life people as he's walking through that. And then there's quite a bit of bulk teaching in this chapter too. But I think because of chapter 16, but I think a lot of times just because of the way it starts out and then it's the final greetings, it's so easy of us to, go back and focus on some of
It's
those
easy
chapters.
to treat it like Matthew chapter 1.
Yeah.
Right, where it's just a
Yeah.
lot of names. I think 2 weeks ago, what Jeff and Andrew both did a good job of kind of revealing those names represent stories and mission and a bunch of people who they step out in faith and they're making a difference for the gospel. But I do think it's unique that in chapter 16 he really doubles down on unity.
Mhm.
Like he could have taken anything in the city of Rome that was coming after this church. Like literally, there's a lot of external opposition.
Yep.
But instead he turns it inward and he says, this is the number one thing that could destroy you from the inside out. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like we could probably all sit here and tell stories about churches who have struggled.
Oh, yeah.
And it all started on the inside,
Yep.
right? With this unity.
I was gonna say, Carlos, my friend and mission partner in Costa Rica that you guys all know.
Yeah.
He tells the story all the time. The greatest cause of missionaries to leave the mission field is other missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Paul's trying to fight against is like, we're on the same team. You may have different preferences over how to do this, what it looks like, but keep the main thing the main
Yeah.
thing. The gospel has got to supersede any of your personal opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, and starting out like verses 17 through 19 right in there and following like that. I think that's the big bulk. And I think Paul's going way deeper than even personal relationships. I went back to some of Paul's words in Ephesians, talking about our struggle is not about against flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the principalities, the itches of darkness, the evil one. And that's who we're fighting. We're fighting Satan himself. And I think he's just using that to draw all these people together because it is such a diverse church. If you remember how the makeup is, from having some Jewish roots starting into going over to Gentile leadership, and now they're back together again. I mean, we can all just imagine the struggles those are going to, knowing the struggles that we have with not having as much cultural diversity within even our church. But it's just cool how he's even taken those, and I think he's even saying like it's not as much even this, but like Satan is our enemy. Like your enemies are not each other. You're in this for the common good, but yet he's gonna distract you. He's gonna do all he can to talk smooth, to flatter you, to think it's all this stuff, but really like he's just trying to distract you from what he's really doing is causing dissension within the church, within brothers and sisters in Christ. So
my I do remember your sermon now that you've been talking a little bit, jogging.
It's all coming back.
But you know what?
Unforgettable.
Yeah, and here's the unforgettable part is when you started singing.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Started
was
singing.
Oh, heck
Oh,
yeah.
he's
Let's hear it. Let's give the people what they want. That's what they're hearing.
I mean, only if you're doing it with me. What do you think I sung?
I don't know.
You skipped over in yours. I heard you. You're like,
No, I did.
Chris Tomlin in the 90s.
Paul wasn't quoting Chris Tomlin. That's why.
Oh, yeah. Well, Chris Tomlin was quoting Paul, and I was quoting Chris Tomlin quoting Paul.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
anyway. He sung it.
Yeah. Romans 16:19.
Says
Romans 16:19 says. And you got it.
Jordan, help us out here.
Romans
Chime in anytime.
16:19 says.
Be excellent
Oh.
Good, be innocent,
of evil.
for the God of peace.
Will soon crush Satan.
Yes, God will crush him underneath your feet.
Careful.
Careful.
That about broke.
No, I actually did sing it.
Thanks for joining us on the.
But that song is so like the hope that he brings, and like you look at the words, it's so awesome. Verse 20, that's verse 20. Oh, that's 19:20, but the God of peace will soon crush Satan. And then where does it say? Underneath your feet. Like, and here Paul, he's talking to the church, and like, it just amazed me, like almost humbling and honored, like God's going to use his people to accomplish that, what he's already accomplished through Jesus Christ on the cross. And it's been the plan since the beginning. But yeah, it was good.
Well, you know, these.
Were you a part of a quartet?
Not officially. I was part of a family, a missionary family who visited churches all around the region that was just forced unwillingly to have to sing multiple times.
I mean, we didn't force you; you willingly.
No, that's because trauma from my parents forced me for many years.
I thought you did a good job. You actually drew in everyone at Clay County when you started singing.
I had a good time.
Like, you were on key. I was like,
my I don't know what your guys' routine is on Sunday mornings before you preach.
Not singing that.
My general routine starts out about 4:35 in the morning, and I start just going over it.
Like writing your sermon.
I was gonna say,
No.
Then how come you weren't at church whenever I got there?
No, like as far as like, I want to make sure.
Oh, there was a song.
I want to make sure like I'm in sync. I want to make sure like what I'm saying is truth. I want to make sure like what I'm saying is what God wants that day. And so like I'll go over it at home, and we're getting ready for church, and I've been up for a couple hours at this point. And Kelly, she'd already been in the shower and got dressed and was coming out. She's like, "How you feeling about today, Caleb?" I'm like, "Good. Why?" She's like, "All I could hear was you singing. You're not singing today, are you?"
The whole sermon
I'm like,
done as a musical.
As a matter of fact, I am. And she's like, "You might want to rethink that." And then she leaves.
Really encouraging.
You're like, "That's my whole sermon."
And so then we're driving in, and it's just me and the kids. Kelly leaves earlier than we do, so me and the kids are driving in, and they're like, "What are you singing, Dad?" And so we pulled up Chris Tomlin on YouTube and listened. To her. She's like, my oldest kids, they're like, "Oh my goodness, don't you do that, Dad? Don't do it." So then when I did, like it was, I don't know if you're in their second service, but two of my kids, they were like, "Oh my goodness, it's my father."
It was great.
It was good. But you have to. It's online now.
You drew every
hand motions.
I mean, not the ones from the original.
There's hand motion?
Oh yeah. You don't remember this? 1998, 2000?
In the late 90s, every song had a hand motion. Yeah. Like, he came from heaven to earth.
So far, there's one who's not sung on the podcast today. Levi was already getting ready for the second verse. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, every song ever written in the 90s had hand motions. So you had Pharaoh, right? Yeah.
Oh, baby.
That one was a little bit before my time, though.
Was it? Yeah.
Hey, why don't you bring us back on track, Matt?
Oh, what? Hold on. What one was that? Yes, Lord. Oh, yes. Yeah. I remember that one. So there was a banner song, banner over you, banner over me. I don't know.
I do think, though, that, yesterday we had our congregational meeting, both campuses.
Yep.
I said this in the message, but I really felt leading into, the Spirit didn't give me 15 more minutes, but just the
you should pray more.
The realization that we needed to hear this. Especially, it was so fitting for that congregational meeting, the big family meeting we have once a year, to remind ourselves where we're going, what we're doing, and then also to be unified. I think one of the biggest challenges that we'll continue to fight and face is the idea of coming together and not letting our preferences and our desires and our secondary opinions lead us. We got to stay focused on the main thing, and that's going to be a constant battle.
I'll say something, and Andrew should remind me of this, but like in your words too. But I was sitting back at worship right before the sermon time, so the very last song, and like this whole sermon series, I think because of Roman, the weightiness of what Romans includes as far as gospel truth, like my prayer really has been like, are we saying enough? Like as we're teaching, because obviously we went through Romans in 11 weeks. That's really fast. And so like, are we saying enough? Like my prayer was, we're communicating the gospel enough, Paul's words enough. And so I had the privilege in Clay County opening Romans and now closing. And so that was my same kind of monologue coming in, like, hey, we want to say enough as we go through this. And so I kind of did the same thing. Like, did we say enough? Like, did it cause you to go back to the gospel. It cause you to have clarity of the gospel. And as I'm thinking about this during that last song before I was supposed to get up on stage, like, not an audible voice, but I just very clearly, the Holy Spirit's like, present the gospel, Romans chapter 5. Like, that wasn't in my notes. And so I opened Romans chapter 5, and this is what I read. And so this was the extra 10 minutes, but I won't.
15.
I'll give you whatever it is.
Oh, no, the extra 5 came from before. This was
Yeah.
just the pre
Um,
song.
I started in verse 6. It says, you see, at just the right time when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. So that's all of us prior to having a relationship with Jesus Christ. Very rarely will anyone die for the righteous man, though for a good man, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrated his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And to me, that's such a great picture of who and what the gospel is. Because when we were living our own lives, not even caring, even wondering who God is, living for ourselves selfishly, doing whatever that path was, so far separated from God, he still sent his son Jesus, and Jesus still died for me, for you. And that's my prayer the whole time. Like, are we giving Romans enough justice for people to go back and read and open it with some clarity and understanding to be able to grasp the picture that Paul has given us? So.
Yeah, I think going through this thing in 11 and 12 weeks, I too had that same kind of fear. You know, I don't know if you guys listened to any of John Piper's teaching through this series. He spent a little bit more than 11 weeks. He spent 8 years preaching through Romans solely for 8 years. So the answer to the question is probably not. Like, there was a lot of things that we missed, which is part of the reason why I struggled, especially at the beginning, because we were going over such large chunks of the letter. But it's just that continual message of keeping the gospel at the forefront. Yeah, which is what we have to do, and it starts corporately in our groups, individually. It's constantly reminding ourselves of it.
Yeah. I don't know what it's been like for your life group. So our life group, we started generally, we don't always go with the sermon series. We'll maybe do something, but we decided when we start Romans, we're going to follow through Romans. I'll be honest, we're just in chapter 8 right now. So we're not going to quite as fast, but it has been really just a great time just with our group to see people's eyes open and to see understanding, and even people's eagerness to open the word, to be in the word. My goal was to be done with it by the end of the year, but I don't think we're going to make it. That's okay, because it's just great to keep following through with it.
I think the encouragement of unity, keeping the gospel at the central, is a universal message that just has to. It was true for the church in Rome. It's true for the church in 2024, 25, and it will be in the future. Like, the gospel of Jesus Christ does not change. And he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. You actually told me to go watch Bonhoeffer 2 weeks ago, and I went and watched that with Soren this past week, and it was a reminder too. Which, read the book; it's good, but the movie's really good too. How quickly one generation that compromises the gospel can fall away completely from the truth of God, and if there is not people who will stand upon the gospel and keep it the central focus, like, it will destroy entire congregations.
Well, and that's the whole point of unity right here that Paul's talking about, because the unity, it's not on common grounds that we have. The unity is staying focused on the gospel.
Yes.
The unity is focused on Jesus Christ.
Who Jesus is, what he's done, and who we are as a result of it.
And so that picture of all those lists of names, like, you see Jews, you see Greeks, you see slaves, you see freemen, you see so many different diverse people, but yet they're unified. It had nothing to do with how they grew up or what they did accomplish or did not accomplish, or what even how they were living life at this point, other than the fact that they were all unified on the gospel and Jesus Christ.
One of the people that came on my list from a few weeks ago when Jeff and you asked us to write down names of people that influenced us, well, Ben Merrill. Like, I remember sitting in a conversation with him, asking him, hey, you've been preaching for at this point, like 60 years, 50 years, something like that. How do you come up with new things to say every week? And he said, I don't. And I'm like, that what? And he said, I preach the gospel every week. Like, that's it.
Yep.
If I can preach that every week, I'm fine.
Yep.
And what a
That's awesome.
clarifying statement. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to be like, it is the gospel message. And that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Everything else is secondary. Like, I don't know. We just got to stay focused on it. Bottom line.
Yep.
Jeff?
Would you like to sing us out?
I'll pass. Maybe in 2025.
That's actually pretty good Jeff impression. The way he leaned in. Tell us your favorite part of Romans and end it for us. What's your favorite thing? I saw your phone open.
Oh no,
He's in 1 Corinthians.
Is he really?
That's the end of Romans.
Oh, okay.
No. Do you really want me to close it out? Because this will tie into.
I don't know.
next
What do you got to
series.
say?
Well, it's the closing verses of Romans.
Yeah.
Let's
do
hear
it.
it.
So,
Go ahead.
Do it.
So I just, the little summary statement at the very end of Romans when Paul is talking about how this mystery of God has finally been revealed through Jesus. It's such a good reminder because as we come into the Christmas holiday, Christmas season, like Jesus coming to earth as God in the flesh, like that is the mystery of God. And it's such a miraculous season and so much bigger than just even, the nativity scene that we always picture for Christmas or presents under the tree. But it really is like everything in the world hinges on Jesus coming as God in the flesh, as the form of a human baby. That's why Christmas really is such a cosmic scope and earth-shattering that it is.
Well, join us next week when we talk about the cosmic Christmas season.
And maybe we'll have cosmic brownies. Probably not.
We'll see. Hey, thanks for joining us.